You've probably had this moment. You sit down, you know exactly what you need to do, and you don't do it. Not because you forgot. Not because you don't care. You just don't. And the strange part is, you can picture yourself doing it. You can imagine how long it will take, how simple it is, how much better you will feel once it is done. But none of that makes you start. This is not laziness. It is not a character flaw. It is something much quieter and much more common than most people realize. The usual explanation is that you lack discipline, or that you are procrastinating because you are afraid of failure. And maybe that is true sometimes. But most of the time, it is not fear or weakness holding you back. It is something happening at a level you do not have direct control over. Your brain is constantly making decisions about energy. Not the kind of energy you feel after coffee. The kind that powers focus, decision-making, and action. And that energy is limited. When you know what to do but do not do it, it is often because your brain has already decided the task costs more than it is worth. Not logically. Not consciously. But in terms of energy. Research shows that every decision you make, every task you consider, and every choice you resist all draw from the same mental resource. By the time you sit down to do the thing you have been putting off, you may have already spent hours managing smaller decisions, navigating interruptions, or just holding information in your head. Your brain is not resisting the task itself. It is resisting the cost of engaging with it. This is why the thing you are avoiding often feels harder at the end of the day than it did in the morning. It is the same task. But you are not the same person. You have used energy. You have made decisions. You have held tension. And now your brain is running on what is left. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. The tasks you avoid are not always big or hard. Sometimes they are small. Sometimes they are things you have done 100 times before. And that makes it feel even worse, because you start to wonder what is wrong with you. But small tasks can carry hidden costs. They might require you to shift context, to load a different set of instructions into your mind, or to make decisions you have not prepared for. And if your brain is already managing a lot, even a small task can feel like too much. It is not the difficulty. It is the disruption. This is why you can spend an entire afternoon doing nothing and still feel exhausted. You are not resting. You are resisting. And resistance takes energy too. Your brain does not experience inaction as neutral. It experiences it as active effort. Because the entire time you are not doing the thing, part of your mind is still holding it. Reminding you. Weighing it. Keeping it in view. That is why doing the task often feels easier than continuing to avoid it. Not because the task itself changed, but because avoidance has its own cost. Now, this does not mean you are always avoiding things for logical reasons. Sometimes the cost is real. Sometimes your brain is protecting you from burnout, or signaling that you need rest, or telling you that the task is not as important as you think it is. But other times, the cost is just a feeling. A prediction your brain made based on how much energy it thinks it has left. And predictions are not always accurate. This is why forcing yourself to start often breaks the loop. Not because you suddenly found willpower, but because starting gives your brain new information. It realizes the task is not as draining as it thought. And once you are in motion, the resistance fades. But here is the part no one really talks about. Sometimes you do not start. Sometimes you sit with the guilt, the frustration, the knowledge that you are letting yourself down. And that feeling does not help. It just adds weight. Because now you are not just managing the task. You are managing the shame of not doing it. And that takes even more energy. This is not about fixing yourself. It is about understanding what is actually happening. You are not broken. You are not uniquely bad at this. You are just experiencing what happens when your brain runs out of room. And knowing that does not make the tasks disappear. But it does change the way you see yourself when you are stuck. You are not failing. You are just human. And sometimes, that is all it is.